All right, so first and foremost, can everybody hear me? Like, everybody's terrified of these first two rows. And I have a cold, so I'm gonna have to like yell at you, so if you can't hear, feel free to come up. That being said, I have a cold, I'm really sorry. It just means I'm gonna be less charming and witty than normal, so you can pretend. Response blogs that I really kind of connected with. And I thought, well, I'm going to put my spin on it because I feel like we're doing a lot wrong too. So anyway, there's a lot of definitions for security awareness training. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are, they're pretty easy. Some of them you can't understand. And some of them don't even, it doesn't apply to anything. So I say, forget all those. Security awareness training as we know it is wrong. We as an IT community need to kind of change people's way of thinking of this. So it's not them, it's us. We create those definitions. We say, this is what security awareness training is. We set those parameters. So the only thing that's wrong with them is that the way we're thinking about it is we're just missing the point. So first of all, we'll start with discussing, the typical training session. Think about any training session you've been in at work, whether it's the one you've given or it's one you've sat in. It's an hour long. It's once a year. And we give them on things like, phishing, botnets, 0 days, and people, they just don't care. And we're standing here wondering why. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the presentation itself. So let's think to your last HR meeting, and you were talking about the standard. Oh, okay, let's talk about sexual harassment because we have to do that to cover our rear ends every single year. So best case scenario is we get somebody that takes some notes. Great. You took some notes, you got something from it. That's good. That's good.
Can you smack them?
As long as you run really fast, no one can identify you. But then, we've got realistically, this is realistically what we've got. We've got the doodlers. It means they're kind of there, they're kind of involved, but they're not really. And then we've got the sleepers. So, and you all know you've wanted to do it before. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen now. If it does, give me a hand or something and I'll yell or something. All right, so that's the presentations. They're really kind of lame. I mean, people don't get involved, they don't get engaged. So let's talk about you. So you know that it's important. We all know security is important, that's our jobs. So we try to get them to comply. Good, that's what we want. You explain to them over and over and over and over again why they should care about security. Okay, good, you're doing your job. You're checking that off your job description list. I did what I was supposed to do. And then you keep yourself very busy keeping everything secure. Also part of your job, also very good. However, these things that you do, oh geez, now look, I gave it all away. Now these things you do, these do hinder progress though, they do. When you tell people that they have to do this, they have to comply with these standards and they have to understand, and if there's something wrong, they have to know, and if they don't, they're going to lose their jobs. Just think of the last time somebody did that to you. Like, all you wanted to do was be like, look, who are you? Like, you can't tell me that. And you get less and less willing to engage in that, in that behavior that they're trying to get you to do. So you explain over and over again to them why they should care about security. They know why. They really do. They know that they should. So stop telling them. Stop being a nag. Nobody likes to be nagged. And start caring about what's important to them. Because if you don't care about them, they're not going to care about you. So this is kind of the basis for the rest of the slides after this, and I'll go into excruciating detail on these things. But you almost have to be sneaky about it. You have to almost treat them, I mean, like, yeah, they know they should care, but you have to tell them why they should care. We'll get to that more later. All right, so think about the last time you handled an everyday issue. Like, it's cool, you've got this, this really cool equipment, and you're excited to be playing with it, and you're setting it up, and you're like, this is gonna be great, we're gonna have this great, really strong perimeter, blah, blah, blah. Great. How did you handle the last person that walked in your office with a problem? Their mouse didn't work. Well, did you check the batteries? Like, how you come off on those everyday issues tells them how you think of them. So think about that. So be sincere, be interested. Use the golden rule. I mean, if you wouldn't want to be treated that way, or think of it this way, this is working with nuns. Okay, so giving a little away about myself. I work for a gigantic group of nuns. And I always think of them when I'm dealing with other people. Like, that could be my grandma. Do I want somebody talking to my grandma like I just talked to that person? Well, no. So if you have to, get yourself in that mindset. Start thinking about how you would feel in that position. So anyway. So I've come up with an alternative kind of definition for security awareness training. I'm saying let's give them foundations. Let's not get down their throat and preach and nag. So because I made this up all by myself, I'm going to read it. It is a little wordy, but I think it gets the point across. Creating an environment of mutual respect and accountability for the company's assets through shared awareness of potential threats and deviations from standards. A lot of words. Don't worry, we'll go through it. And obviously, this is what I made up from what I've seen. Obviously, you guys may have a different take on it. If you do, you have something to add, please do. So essentially, what that's saying is we want our staff to be able to say, hey, that's weird. I should probably go tell them about it. And then they do it. They actually feel comfortable enough to walk in and say, hey, there's this really weird pop-up box. We want to know those things. So anyway, so we're going to break this up a little bit, that definition that I so proudly created. So the creating an environment of mutual respect and accountability for the company's asset. The key words here, and hence the misplaced periods, is mutual. They're not going to respect me if I don't respect them. So we have to respect what they do, right? I can't balance the budget. I certainly can't fix the furnace. So why do I act like they should know exactly what's going on in my world? Like, why should I pretend like they should know exactly what they're seeing on their screen or understand, the complexities of what we do? They don't, and we don't understand theirs. So treat them with this kind of same respect and dignity that we would expect. Accountability. Are we accountable to them? Like, we see a lot of our projects and because not a lot of people understand what we do, we can kind of go, oh, I'm real busy. Click, 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 click. And kind of push off things that they need, but they need those things to do their job. So being accountable to them is also one piece of the puzzle in getting them to feel comfortable enough to talk to us. All right, shared awareness. And I say shared awareness because we get to the point where we think we know everything that's going on. We read blogs, we read, we're on top of things because that's our jobs to kind of know these security things. But, I'm skipping down here, I'm sorry. It's probably pretty small anyway. But knowing that Sue's son just got suspended from school because he was able to, get through the proxy server there or something. That might be interesting stuff to know. It doesn't hurt to know that he's doing that. You don't just roll your eyes and go, oh yeah, every 8th grade kid can do that. Listen to it. You might learn something. And the same way back. I'll back up a little bit, sorry. But we need them to tell us as much as they need us to tell us. Does that make sense? I'm claiming cold here. So the important part here is to talk to people. You really do want to find out what's going on with them. I always make it a practice to try to, 15 minutes out of my day. 15 minutes isn't long. You just go around, you go to the water cooler, you go to the lunchroom, you go to the break room, and you just talk to people, find out what's going on at home. They know you're the IT person, and they probably don't know what else to talk to you about, so they're going to talk to you about their kids and their computers and things like that. Listen and care about that stuff, because that is what's going to make them feel comfortable talking to you again when it really matters. So you take that information and you kind of give them something back. Even if it's just an email, once in a while, just saying, hey, at home there's this weird Facebook thing going on, or that Facebook's changing their privacy settings, or there's this new trend or whatever with whatever happens to be cool at the moment. Give them that information so that they can protect what's important to them. Spend another 15 minutes a day getting resources for them. If somebody talked to you in the lunchroom about their kid and in the chat rooms or whatever, find something for them. Send them a link. StaySafe.org or StaySafeOnline.org is a great place. You can pretty much use that as a blanket response. Hey, I was thinking about what you said about your son, Tim. Check this out. It's got some really good tips. You care about them. Now you know what? They care about you. They want to listen to you more about, things that are that we want them to do for us. So knowing how to protect their families, having those little tips, that little information, also helps them learn how to take care of the company's assets in a secure manner as well. Because really, business does mimic real life. A lot of the stuff that they run into out there, is the same type of stuff. Weird pop-ups, fake antivirus, drive 0 days, things like that. That happens there and it happens at work. If they can keep themselves safe at home, they'll do it more here. So anyway, let me take a drink of water. Comments or questions so far? Okay, I'm doing a perfect job, thank you. So the next is the potential threats and deviations from standards. Potential threats, and this is the stuff we get into. This is our domain. This is what's out there. This is what we know about. This is what we protect against. So naturally, our inclination is to say to people, almost use a scare tactic. Oh, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? There's this threat. They don't know what a 0 day is. They don't know what, I think spam and phishing and stuff like that's pretty well known at this point, from, just from being on the news and stuff like that. But I think that when you do use the words that they're not going to understand, make sure you have an example, like how it pertains to them. If it can pertain to their banking account or something like that. it needs to make sense so that it applies to their home life and to their work life. Use a newsletter, because if you're talking to somebody, I mean, if you're standing up here presenting for an hour, talking about all these technical things, all these things that they should be, watching out for, you're going to have people fall asleep on you. You're going to have the drool notebook because they don't understand it. It's too much at once to process. So put it in a newsletter. Give them, and I'll go through some of those ideas later, but give them some time to read it and to let it sink in. But always, always, always use it with an example. All right, so the deviations and standards part. It's perfectly okay to let them know that they don't have to know everything. We don't expect them to be experts. And if you do, you're doing it wrong. We want them to be experts in what they do. We need to be experts in what we do. We just need them to let us know when things look weird. And it's okay to let them know that. We don't have to, we don't have to give off this air of, well, you don't know anything, so how can you help me? Well, of course we need them to help us. Again, give examples. And this goes back to the last slide. You have to give them the time of day. You know what I mean? If you have some weird pop-up and they're afraid to tell you about it because you laughed at them when their mouse's batteries had died, well, they're not going to tell you that. But if they do tell you, you need to look at it. No deviation from that norm is too small. Because if there's one thing we've learned, is that if you're trying to protect against all those big bad scaries out there, which I think are probably a good portion of you guys, that you have to piece all these puzzle pieces together to get this big picture of what's actually happening. One little piece isn't going to tell you everything, and you could be going, hitting your head, staring at a brick wall because you're not sure where this attack is coming from, and this person might have that tiny little piece that you need for it all to come together. So, in caps, no deviation is too small. Check everything out. So essentially, all that means is that you have to respect people for them to respect you. You have to care about people to let them, so that they'll care about you and what you're trying to accomplish. Make sense? I know it's hard, and I don't know, how many people do we have here that are like manager typees? Okay, so a good number. So we can say this to each other. We can say, oh yeah, we're gonna do better, and we will, but you're responsible for a lot of people. How do you get that to filter down through your department? It's as easy as doing it yourself first. You really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you had a lot of really good slides, okay? There's a couple of things. First of all, when we talk about rules and stuff like that, okay, that's just a requirement, okay? And dumbing down the awareness, et cetera, doesn't work either. Well, one of the things that we did this year on my security awareness is every single topic, every single item that we discussed was presented as something that they actually had experienced during the course of the year. They were actual spam and phishing attacks. They were actual, intrusion piggybacking. My company gets a lot of threats every day, and we ask a simple question. Okay, we had 5 instances. How would you feel if that phone call was standing next to you? So know who you're in, okay? You talked about the awareness and stuff, okay? Text is boring. We had to fight the IT because we threw graphics in our little notices, okay? We, have a little symbol for our security guy, okay? At the top, so you know right away, okay? So there's coverage that gets at least some attention. So every month they get out. We get spam through all the time, okay? And I'll send out we're getting a particular hit, or it's pretty easy to tell when spam's all about ads and Dr. Oz losing weight. But when you're getting that Bank America, that Target, etc., the day before payday, you're getting the ADP, okay? We had to show them how. So the best way to do that is at that opportune time, we're starting to get hit. I sent out, remove the links from the actual email, okay? And I said, hey, we're getting hit with this. Be aware. And then I highlighted some areas. Here are some notes, okay? America is not spelled this way.
Right.
Okay?
And that's perfect.
But, and so the big thing was I got nothing until we started putting it in their perspective. Okay?
Exactly.
And, I cited the regulations that were, do they care about GLBA, FDCPA, SOC, okay? Now, CFPB, No, I had to present that. And then we came back and we said, well, what does this mean to you?
Exactly.
Okay, but we did it in their job. And, we got a lot farther, a lot more awareness. I probably got the most, quite frankly, from the spam alerts, okay, copies of that stuff during the course of a normal day. So I'm actively engaging with what they're receiving throughout time.
And that's a really good point. And it was kind of down a layer in the presentation so far. Is it's not a security awareness training as we've been doing it. Is that once a year, 1 hour training? And that's not enough. It's got to be constantly. People have to know about it all the time. And if you make it pertinent to them, they're going to start caring about it. So, and as you said, it's often mandatory. So, so we can't really throw out our mandatory meetings, our mandatory training sessions, but we can look at them differently. We can do things differently. We don't have to stand up here with a PowerPoint and 77 slides about the threats that are out there and how to handle them, because they're never going to remember that. So can we do something more often? Do we have to do an hour every year? Can we do something like a half hour, 4 times a year? Just so it stays fresh in their memory, because, typically people are going to forget what you said a couple weeks after you said it. So can it be a week-long event? Can we take Tech Week? Could we do that? Could we take it and say, hey, we're going to do this big, security push. We want to make it fun. Can we have prizes? Can we have food? Can we have music? Can we make it so that they want to be there? Because right now they don't. It's just like you and your sexual harassment training. You don't want to be there. Either it doesn't pertain to you because you know what you're doing, or you really don't want to know anything about it. But it's also important to ask your staff what's meaningful to them. It's really important that, because some people are better if you give it to them in print. Some people like to see it. Some people like to see you actually doing stuff. So ask your staff what's meaningful to them. Cater that towards them. Other creative things. I don't know how many of you saw Ben 10's DerbyCon presentation. I made the mistake of not going last year, or any other year. This year will not be the same. But it was really great. He danced. I'm not going to dance for you. But he basically was illustrating how contests work. People want something. Like if you're having this big meeting, you're here, you know what, that's why we have pizza. Sorry. People come because we've got something they want. So of course they're gonna participate more if you give them a $10 gift card or something like that. It doesn't always have to be, I always think about this. October is Cybersecurity Month or whatever, however they term it. And, working with a bunch of women, it does help me to kind of think about prizes and things like that they care about, that they want. So use October as your Security Awareness Month. It coincides with Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Buy a bunch of really cheap pink things. They love that stuff. But really what Ben 10 had said was, he had taken and made his team involved in it because he made them the red team. The contest was, see how many things you can find that are wrong and what happens every day. Is it an email? Is it the doors taped shut? give points values, and at the end, give a prize. Give 10 prizes, whatever it takes, but get people involved. So from my perspective, I'm like, that sounds really cool. I love that. But I don't have the staff for that. But then I come to things like this, and I look at this room, full of all you people who know how to do these things. It seems like we could do something where we had some sort of cooperation. Like, I wish Dave were here. Hey Dave, create us something that we can use to do some training with, you know? It's something that, you know, is like a payload that you know is out there, and we can use so that we can do these things for our staff to get them involved. Anyway, I found that one of the best things I did, I had done some newsletters, we had some, you know, trivia, you know, if you get the right answer and you're the first person to give it, you know, give the right answer, you get a candy bar, things like that. Just little, he said a logo. They know it's from the IT guys. They know it's from security. They know this is stuff they're supposed to be paying attention to. A dictionary and an FAQ, because they can't possibly remember everything all year long. There's a lot of resources online that give you those things. You can almost copy and paste them and make it relevant to your corporation, your company. So essentially what I'm saying is that the way things have always been is no longer working. And people are getting upset. They're saying it's not worth the time and the energy. What I'm saying is we need to change the way how we deal with our users. Maybe not calling them users would be helpful, because, I mean, how negative a connotation has that gotten over the years, right? You're such a user. So start interacting with them. Start making them feel like you care about them. They're going to start saying, hey, you told me that about, you know, to watch out for this with my son Tim, and I saw it on my computer. Really, isn't that all we really want? We just want to know when there's weird things going on, instead of the person who just clicks the box every day because it pops up every day and they don't want to bother IT. We want them to bother us. It's our job. So all I'm saying is change the way from the foundation up on how we do things for security training. Yes, you probably have to do your mandatory training every year still, but get creative with it. If you totally can't think of any ideas, you don't know what to do, what direction to go, contact somebody else. You know, ask their opinions on what they can do. Don't make it the same old blog so that people don't want to be there.
Don't be afraid to use humor either.
Absolutely.
You know, we talk about clean desk, and you know, my previous slide was a desk that was just literally piled of paper around the person, and you know, that was cute the first year, but this last one, you know, we took a cartoon where the desk was clean, but it was all on the floor, and the comment was, no one said anything about a clean floor policy. Okay, so that was, you know, our introduction to talk about it's not just the desk, it's the area around it, it's the printers, your faxes, etc. You know, so don't be afraid to use humor.
Yeah, people that you work with really are real people. They do enjoy laughing on occasion. They do enjoy some conversation. So I suggest you utilize those tools. Anyway, so I was originally, when I had come up with this idea, and after reading those couple blogs and stuff, I created my PowerPoint, and then today I was looking through those again just to kind of refresh my memory. And I saw this and it made me laugh, because I'm like, okay, I'm an advocate for my users. Nobody else is going to be, but I'm going to be. I know that they need help. I know that they're not stupid. I know that we can do this together. And it's funny because as I was reading through that last, through Dave's response, he says, I fight for the users. And it's so much cooler than mine. I just wish I could have copied it and acted like it was mine too. But I am an advocate for the users, and I think that everybody in this room should be. And I think we should start feeling a little more comfortable talking to each other about these things and what we're doing in-house to get ideas, because techie people aren't always the most creative people. Other than that, any questions? I'm done. Yeah.
So this question's for you, but for anybody else in the room who might have an answer to this as well. So we come up with all of these new ways to approach training year after year, trying to make it better, more effective. Does anybody here including yourself, collect metrics around the performance of your users from year to year to see how effective your training program is.
Could everybody hear that? Does anybody collect metrics on how different methods work? I don't personally. We don't. I mean, we're a nonprofit. We don't have a whole lot of, but like we can't even like. Some people, some places do those great like afterwards quizzes where you can click through and point to the things that are out of place and stuff like that, and that's great. That's a great way to test it. And it's a good point too, because we probably really should be, to see how many people are actually keeping what, 6 months after we have the discussion. Does anybody do that here? Go ahead.
Tracking the activity, okay, an example is spam and phishing. I would much rather you send me the email, even a false positive, one that was valid,
Right.
instead of clicking on the link until figuring it out. So one of the things that I'm talking about that I'm showing up, it's pretty big numbers. Every day I've got 50 spams reported. I got a group of 7 people that seem to are being targeted. But you know what? I'm getting that notice. And as long as I'm getting the notice, they're involved. They recognize it, okay? And
It means they understand.
when I get a false positive, okay? Those get noted too, and that's a positive too, as it says, this is an example of the recipient doing the right thing. It's a shame the sender didn't tell them about it. Because it's like, okay, you need to go on SurveyMonkey or whatever and take the survey. I've trained my people. No, you don't.
Right.
If you didn't get an email or a call from that person, you don't click on it. Send it to me. Let me evaluate it and let you know. That's a big number. It took them a while to understand that, hey, these big numbers are actually a good thing.
Right.
Because it's participation.
Yes.
Okay?
And I think that
Awareness
that's
is about the behavior, the skill and the behavior.
right. And I think that's a big part of why I got so excited when I was watching Ben 10's presentation on that contest. Like the contest was like he knew what he put out there, and he knew how many people had responded back. Sure, you're going to have those handful. They're like, I'm not doing it anyway. I noticed it, but I don't want a prize. I'm too cool for that. So of course there's going to be people like that, but that's a good way to measure how many people actually notice those things.
You see, the point is I'm not presenting a negative. I'm not saying, okay, we're getting hit by all this spam, okay, and I'm not bringing up the people that aren't sending me the spam, okay? What I'm doing is I'm highlighting all the positive. Yes, the notification is right. And those false emails, or those emails that they question, that's not presenting a negative, that's presenting a first things first.
Yes.
I'm addressing the user. These
Thank
recipients
you. Yes.
did the
Thank you for
right
doing that.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
You had a-
Next time you send something out, make sure.
I was going to state that it's very difficult for us as people in IT to break out of that comfort zone and act as actual people to our users, and
It is.
even when they're asking, why is your mouse not working and
It
the battery's
is.
not good. Something I think is very valuable that I found for myself is Deb Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay.
Specifically talking about, and you touched a little bit about it, but what other people want. What are their needs? Communicating with them, talking to them about things that may not seem applicable in your IT realm,
Right.
but would help you in relating to them, and then they trust you, and then they want to become your advocate, and they want to come and bring you things and ideas that they may have seen them in wrong to make your life easier, simply because you listened to how they were gardening this past weekend. Just
Yeah, I
something
listen to a lot of
interesting.
stories about weather and gardening. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
I mean, like a bunch of boring things, but the fact is that you now become a person,
Right.
and they become a person, and you
And
work together.
Here's a sneaky thing. If you have a hard time breaking out of your shell, out of your comfort zone, out of your office where things make sense to you, start talking to like one person you feel comfortable with. Find out what they're interested in. And the next person you see in the elevator, say, so-and-so said this to me. I thought it was interesting because, use their stories to get talking to other people. Because if you're not interested in the weather or the gardening or, whatever it might be, other people probably are. I mean, it's a little,
I found it much more successful just to have a nice guy be on your team and let him be your advocate.
how does that go in the job requirements? Must be very nice.
Hire someone else.
So have you found that person yet?
Yeah, no, stay away from him.
We have this issue where, I'm too busy doing my job to help you, and we're service, okay? We're not manufacturing, we're not production, we're service. We need that so-called stupid user, okay? Because if they weren't out there, if they didn't need us, we'd be looking for another profession.
Right.
And it's something that, when I hire my new people, within the first 2 days, they get my customer service responsibility, they sign the acknowledgement, and then the rest of the people in my group for the first days are telling them, it's not a joke. When I answer the phone, I ask, how may I serve you?
Right.
It's service. I'm there because of them. And if they called me because they believed I could help. And if I can't help, I want to make sure I get it to someone who can.
Yep.
Because the next time they have a problem, if they don't know where to go, yeah, they're going to call me and interrupt me for 15 seconds, and I send them to the right place. And they're going to remember that security's not the bad guy, because I'm not IT, I'm security. Okay? But we're the ones that can get you. We care about, at least about it. So when you have those days, because I get talked to too from my director, it's like you need to geek speak. You live this stuff too much, okay? Talk it back down. So I got to get reminded about that too. So
and
you see in one of your other people that you're working with says, hey, kind of notice maybe we're getting strung up with this project. Maybe we need to calm down. So,
Right.
And
that's why I think the commitment to 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes out of your 8-hour workday, spend 15 of it talking to people and the other 15 doing something for them. But I did like your point on it's a service industry. If you look up the term user, I mean, I know what we think of the term user, but it's really consumer. User means consumer. So they're consuming so that we can have a job, and you're absolutely right. So I think it's important to keep that in mind when the next time somebody comes in with dead batteries or, they spilled a soda on their keyboard or something. Like, yeah, it was a dumb thing that they may have done and they might not have been thinking, but you have no idea what's going on in their life. Maybe they're juggling 2 jobs, have 3 kids, whatever. You don't know that, so don't judge. So treat them like you would treat your grandma. Anything else? Yes, sir.
About how many people are in your organization or that?
In my,
Well, as far as users go, the number?
well, we have 700. Brian works with me. About 700. Yeah. Yeah, we're all around the United States too. So
So
it's,
are you trying to do more of the in-person kind of thing? Because, we've tried a variety of things, like you said. We have about 4,000, and we've been down the path of, online training for, once a year. And we had the quiz at the end, and they had to have a passing score of 70, and that was good until we figured out how many people actually flunked the test, and so.
or shared the answers, or
Well,
yeah.
No, they weren't. And so now we just, we have it as mandatory, and there's no quiz at the end. It does register that they've completed going through all the slides, but we kind of take a real strong approach that if by June 30th they haven't had their training, their account gets shut off. And then they complain that they can't take the training because their account is shut off.
And I think that if you can't be there in person, and I can't be there in person, I do have staff at the sites, and right now ours, security awareness training, that type of thing is not mandatory. But I think it's important enough that I try to get people to kind of switch that way of thinking, to kind of say, it starts with us, like we, essentially the whole presentation. Anyway, but I think you need to question what's important. If they're not getting it, is it because it's so minute or so specific that they can't retain it from the slides to the quiz, because it's a definition or it's a statistic or something like that? Or are they not getting the concept as a whole? Can they not, I mean, maybe think about changing your quiz to have a screen pop up and say, hey, what's wrong with this, A, B, C, or D? Because those are the things, if you think about it, those are the things that are actually pretty important. Like, yeah, you can test on what, you know, a phishing attack is or something like that, or the policy itself. But really, I don't care if they know the policy. I care if they know what it means when the policy is not working. So maybe it's something like that, maybe just a shift in that thinking would help. I don't know if that's plausible for them, so just a suggestion.
It's just hard with that many people to
Absolutely.
try to come up with the right balance. Of, you want to give them enough information so that they can be, better users and be careful with the assets and the information that we have at the facility.
And if you're talking to people, and I find that it's helpful to have one person in a location or one person in a department that is kind of like your go-to person. Like, I've got some people that I know that are going to be my cheerleader in different locations. And I make sure that they get 5-star service all the time, so they tell other people. And then from there, things start to kind of spider out, and we start to get our good name back up again, and they start feeling comfortable with us again. But yeah, with so many people, it is hard. You got a suggestion for it, maybe?
Yeah, I have 11 offices throughout the U.S. It's not all that big, but still. One of the things that I first had to get governance, I had to get confirmed to the company to buy in is I appointed a site security manager. And I'll tell you, yeah, I got this 1980s Department of Defense training, site security manager. I focused them on the physical security because I also selected the ops or the office manager as that site security manager. That was a local central point that most people were dealing with every day for some operational function. And they were responsible for that receptionist and the physical building. So I made that I gave them a little bit extra training, okay? I gave that, you have my cell phone number, you have that immediate response so that I'm there to support you, okay? We don't make mistakes, they're learning opportunities, okay? And I'm not perfect, but boy, I really do work hard on that so that, hey, when we make a mistake, it's, all right, a learning opportunity. We have challenges and opportunities. And we don't have problems, challenges and opportunities. So, and I try to live it. Even if I got to tell myself that first during that breath before I speak to them, okay? And I got a lot more help because now I got a local advocate who's not a security professional. He's just like you, but they have the security. And then the operations, okay, really, they're the guys, people that are putting your paper in the printer, delivering your mail, okay? The receptionists at the front, every day. Reading those visitors and the vendors coming in, making sure that, yeah, they've got a badge, where's the escort? If that vendor comes back without an escort, they open, right there they know who to call, okay? So, I mean, it's a big advocate. It was tough because it's like now you're throwing another thing on me, but you try to give them the support, and if you don't get the backing of the company on it, because it's an underassignment, but it's a real big benefit. It's also not part of IT. Again, it's operations. It's one of them. Okay, your operational people are seen more as just one of them instead of a techno geek. And if this normal person can be that, static security is that important, that normal person, then it should have some basis on it. And it really helped a lot. There's times when, hey, they got their job too. But you know what? Okay, it flows to us. But I've got that, that touch point out there. So that is, that's really, really helpful. It was one of the first things that I did when I started building our security program. And it was a big fight. But it's like, okay, look, you're telling me about this debtor who's screaming at the managing partner and you don't know how the hell he got there. Well, he got there because nobody was paying attention. Because you don't lock it down, because you're holding the door open. Okay? So we address that first, now you got that touch point. So.
Any other questions or comments? One last thing from me. It's not that scary up here, so if you have something to talk about, I know Tyler just said that. It's really not that scary. It's a little warm, but it's not that scary. So if you guys have something to talk about, please let Tyler or the board know. But this has been great. This is the first time I did it here, and the feedback and everything has been great. So I thank you. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to stop me and ask. Thank you.
Great, so we'll take a 10-15-minute break and then we'll bring up our second speaker. If our second speaker is here, can he let us know who he is?
Identify yourself.
Oh, you're? Yeah. Great, sorry. Didn't know who you were.